We thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria for today. It is still good morning for today, and of course, we are reaching you on the network service of the NTA. Up ahead is business news, and of course, the National Bureau of Statistics kicks off comparable data on women and children worldwide. Details of this and more with Comfort Amodu on business news.
A multiple indicator cluster survey, the largest source of statistically sound and internationally comparable data on women and children worldwide, has kicked off in Nigeria. In a statement by Ichedi Sunday Joel, Head Public Affairs and International Relations Unit of the National Bureau of Statistics, the Bureau said the survey is in collaboration with the United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, and has commenced the process of data collection, starting with the Training of Trainees workshop in Lagos on the 9th of June 2021. The survey is centered on health education, child protection, water and sanitation, among others, and also serve as a major source of data in measuring achievement of some of the targets of the Sustainable Development Goals and all the international commitments. Selected trainers will be sent to Anambra, Kano, Plateau, and Oyo to conduct the pre-test exercise. Meanwhile, the World Bank and the Federal Ministry of Agriculture have approved and validated knowledge management working document for agricultural support projects in Nigeria.
Draft PM implementation strategy document has been prepared to guide all the PIUs to successfully implement eligible KF activities in fulfillment of the objectives captured in the PAD.
With Business News, Comfort Amodu.
Thank you very much, Comfort Amodu, for the business package. Coming up next for us now is Newspaper Review.
All right, let's welcome Bayo Toyabi, our newspaper reviewer. Bayo, it's good to see you again today.
Thank you, Kerry. Good morning.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Kensley.
Right, Bayo.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Good. Kieran?
All right, let's start with the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper, above the nameplate, Senate bars NIPOs from tax collection, withdraws agency's regulatory powers. The story is on page 19. Buhari, service chiefs, others meet. Uzodinma blames opposition again. That's on page 26. World Bank raises Nigeria's 2021 growth forecast to 1.8%. That's on page 19. And on page 8, we have 200 fresh Nigerian doctors in UK, swell list to 8,384 doctors practicing in the UK. Now, below the nameplate, the lead story this morning, Twitter ban violation. CAN warns as AGF vows to try Adeboye, VIP offenders. That's on page 2. But it has 3 riders to that. We are definitely on it to ensure the prosecution of 4 violators, declares Malami's office. Adeboye, other clerics, VIP's prosecution will compound Nigeria's problems, CAN tells federal government. House of Representatives split. Tempers rise over federal government's ban. PDP lawmakers stage walkout. All right, the photo story is that of the Amotekun. Akeredolu advocates homegrown strategies against insecurity, boosts Amotekun's capacity. The story is on page 8. Slain Zamfara fruit vendor's family demands 200 million naira compensation. The story is captured on page 5. Federal government shortlists 550,000 for N-Power final selection. Details on page 19. SIM-NIN linkage Telecos lose 19.20 million subscribers in 5 months. It's also on page 19. Immigration warns racketeers as passport portal reopens. It's on page 7. Police engage fleeing kidnappers in Kaduna, rescue 5 victims. It's on page 26. 7 northern states will experience severe dry spells. That's according to NIMET. It's on page 19 of the Punch newspaper.
Okay, thank you, Kieran. Let's also look at the Nation newspaper. We'll take some of the headlines from above the name flag of the paper. Igbo leaders and SANS, that's Senior Advocates of Nigeria, it's time to end killings. Nwambweze and Kalu caution. Borno lawmakers back 500 million naira Chibok school probe. That's on page 29. And on page 4, the World Bank says Nigeria's 1.8% growth tied to stable rate. Below the name flag says government asks judicial workers to reopen courts. And also there on the front page says Twitter suspension throws reps into rowdy session. With 2 riders, PDP lawmakers will continue to tweet. And CSOs, that's civil society organizations at ECOWAS court. Lead story comes with a double-decker headline, and 2 riders says MAN, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, and LCCI, that's the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Lament slide in power supply to firms and homes. World Bank worries about energy deficit, businesses and households groan. The photographs there on the front page show the operatives of the Ondo State chapter of Amotekun Corps at their personal parade in Akure yesterday. On the left-hand side is the governor of the state, Rotimi Akeredolu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Otom, that's Benue State Governor, laments non-diversification of economy. And North Central leaders reject secession. Page 5. Bayo.
Thank you, Kinsley. Let's start with the story read by Kirian relating to the World Bank's having raised the forecast of Nigeria's growth in domestic product for the year 2021 to 1.8%. This came from the June economic prospect released on Tuesday by the World Bank. It indicated that there is a sudden rise in sovereign borrowing cost, which will increase fiscal pressure in some countries, including Nigeria. The World Bank had forecasted the growth of about 1.1% for Nigeria in January. But now, there seems to be an increase of about 0.7% to 1.7%. The president of the World Bank, David Malpass, says that higher debt burden and fiscal pressure could predicate financial distress. He recommends that debt should be for productive uses. He's stressing that there is need also to improve debt management and debt transparency. On the area, another area of concern is by the United Nations Population Development Fund. They have set Nigeria's population now at 211 million. This was contained in the State of the World Population for the year 2021. At a launch, the country representative, Ula Meola, said life expectancy for men in Nigeria is 54, for women 56 years. And in the 153-page report, the United Nations Population Fund indicated that Nigeria population grew by 2.6% between 2015 and 2020. And you can imagine that in late 2020, when there was a lockdown, there will be an upshot in population. Meanwhile, the report had also shown that 43.3% of Nigeria's population are in the age bracket of 0 to 14. The larger part of the population, which is 53.9%, are within the age bracket of 15 years to 64 years. That is about 114 million of that 211 population. The list is 2.8%, which are persons from the age of 65 and above. The fertility rate in Nigeria is said to be about 5.2 children per every woman. In another development, the National Population Commission, NPC, has stated that there is a likelihood of conducting Nigerian census in 2022. The Federal Commissioner for Gombe State, Abubakar Damburam, who spoke on behalf of the chairman, said that NPC has completed demarcation of 600 local government areas. Of course, we have 774, and it is expected that they will complete the rest, and anytime by the year 2022, they will be able to indicate to Mr. President a date for census. The last time census was held in Nigeria was 14 years ago. The chief whip of the Senate.
15 years.
15 years? Okay. The chief whip of the Senate, former governor of Abia State, Senator Orji Uzokolu, has cautioned those who he described as masterminds of insecurity in the Southeast. He warns that their action could lead to a repeat of the 1967 Civil War. In the statement, Orji Uzokolu says the insecurity in the Southeast is strange. He questions the sense of killing policemen and military officers, and he asked a rhetorical question: do the masterminds and perpetrators of these deadly acts think eliminating those meant to protect them and their families will help? He says policemen and military officers being killed are fathers, mothers, husbands, wives, and children and relatives. Anyone that has a close relative, has lost a close relative, knows what it means, and therefore we should be careful, because the parents and children of these persons who have put their life online to defend us have been decimated unnecessarily. In another development, Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, after visiting President Muhammadu Buhari, pointed out that personalities and opposition politicians are encouraging insecurity. He said that he called upon all stakeholders in the country, monarchs, religious leaders, political leaders, to engage with the people to restore peace. He says that it is not only in Imo. The case of insecurity here and there in the country has not been helped by the posture of opposition political parties and some aggrieved politicians. At a time like this, anybody worth his onions as a leader should be able to speak out. Yeah. Leaders must rise to ensure they work hand in hand with government to end insecurity.
On the issue of insecurity in the southeast of Nigeria, I want to believe that the leaders from that part of the country did not start early enough to begin to criticize the development in the area. This started gradually. It started gradually until it got to a point where the president has to react the way he did. Right. So if criticisms have started early enough to call for a stop of that stupid activity of some persons in the southeast, by now we wouldn't have gotten to the level we are now. What the chief whip had said is apt, but I had expected that earlier than now. Right. For him to even mobilize other persons, for leaders from the southeast of Nigeria, to begin to criticize the act when it started, because it was a gradual process. Before you knew it, it already crisscrossed all over southeast of Nigeria, yes. Burning down INEC offices, burning down police stations, killing security personnel. That no reasonable government will allow that to continue, as far as I'm concerned.
There's been a warning from the Nigeria Meteorological Agency that we are going to suffer a dry spell in June, and this will affect states, about 7 states: Sokoto, Zamfara, Yobe, Kebbi, Katsina, Niger, and some parts of Borno State. However, the forecast, which was made by the DG NIMET, Mansuru Matazu, predicted a mild dry spell in states in Oyo State, especially Oyo and Ekiti, Kwara, Plateau, and the Federal Capital Territory. The Southeast is said to have a good forecast because normal rainfall will persist in that area. The other story is that the Catholic Bishop of Enugu Diocese, Callistus Onaga, has prohibited Reverend Father Ejike Mbaka from making comments on partisan politics. In a letter to the Reverend Mbaka, the bishop directed the adoration ministry to be converted to a chaplaincy. Reverend Mbaka has entered into a prayer retreat. Meanwhile, human interest story, a 37-year-old South African woman has given birth to 10 babies. The babies are 7 boys and 3 girls, and they were delivered by cesarean section on Monday. This is been described as the Guinness World Record. Incidentally, the last record was 9 babies delivered by a Malian woman last month, Halima Sise, in Morocco. Meanwhile, Gosame and her husband, that is the woman that delivered, were expecting 8 babies, but they were pleasantly surprised to have 8. And the woman...
And they already had the twins before.
They had twins before, so they now have 12 children.
12 children.
Probably a dozen.
That's
a dozen.
They better stop. Oh. If they try another one, they could have another 10, and it will become a problem.
Come on. Well, that's it. I mean, the buyer would like to appreciate you for being around. There isn't much to discuss this morning in terms of the stories or even the highlights. So we'll see you again tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we are on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we get ahead with our principal subject for discussion this morning, which is on the environment.